to be fair. Good evening, everyone. We have the Kalile. The full Kalile has been formed and is here for your viewing pleasure tonight. We've also got two old guys. Start with B, a little alliteration. Brian Horton, Mr. Brad Chester. Huzzah! We got so much stuff to talk about today.
And the weekend was packed with events. There was some surprising wins in smaller events that we'll cover, and we've got WCW, the World Championships of Warhammer, to look forward to.
We've got so much stuff, and I've got it all up. And here's the thing: if no one puts me on a structured path, I might talk every other sentence about one of the three things we just said.
All right, so first let's talk about the weekend recap. Of course, a lot of the weekend recaps is always brought to us by Meta Monday. If you haven't checked out his website, go check out Meta Monday's website. It's absolutely fantastic.
He even puts his ideas about it. He does a recap. I actually like the recap quite a bit.
Yeah, the recap's fantastic. And it was kind of a crazy weekend. So we had the Alliance Open, GSC Chaos Knights both went 6-0. That was a 137 player event. We had in Winnipeg, we had the Majestic Besties with World Eaters going 5-0, Sisters of Flame 4-1. Then we had in Switzerland a 44 player event in Geneva with Eldari coming in first place, clearly with WTC scoring. Tyranids Synaptic going 4-0-1. Then we had the Black Shield tournament in Canada with Guard going 5-0.
You know what? I'm scrolling all the way back down.
Yeah.
I was going to leave at the stats. Now I got to go back up.
That's okay. And then we'll go right to the stats after that, because I think we've kind of.
Oh, great. Now you're going to get everybody
I'm doing this to make you do work.
This is going to get people sick to their stomach as I freaking scroll Blair Witch Cam rocking it. Where did Lyle go? I literally put us on the intro. I'm working the backstage.
So and he's there. He's there.
I'm here.
He just only wanted you to see.
Yeah, that's my
his
face.
Sad clown face.
I did call you guys out beforehand. You weren't even on stream yet for this. I asked which part of the Kalile do you guys take turns being the poutiest people in the universe? I actually said galaxy.
Yes.
So, of course, the takeaway from the weekend, we'll cover Meta Monday's recap really quick, just to give him his props. World Eaters won the second largest event of the weekend, had a 58% win rate. Death Guard had a 55% win rate with 3 event wins, while GSC only had a 50% win rate over the weekend. They did win the biggest event of the weekend. Chaos Knights, seemingly out of nowhere, dominated smaller events, winning 3 smaller GTs.
I was just going to say, Chaos Knights went from 0 to hero, baby. They had, what, a 38% win rate last week or something?
Absolutely.
Just bananas.
And the big part about that is a lot of it was smaller GTs. They did go 6-0 in a large GT. Sometimes matchups be matchups. Sometimes people can't handle that much toughness.
I mean, armies like Chaos Knights are way better when every single person is running something that instantly dies to a thermal spear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a lot of vehicle shit out there. But I am going to throw how dumb I am with technology. As you're like, Brad, why are the windows jacked up and things? I also want to know, I'm currently putting these headphones in because I messed up my Bluetooth on my computer and I reinstalled the driver, I think, but it says it has problems and I can't connect anymore. That's how bad I am. I'm locked out of Bluetooth on my own computer. Technology.
So Black Templar going from hero to lowest functioning faction with a 32 win rate with nothing to show for it.
What the hell?
That's an anomaly.
I don't even know what to say with that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
it just wasn't their weekend. Sometimes you just don't have weekends. Good weekend.
You know, it went a little bit down, but I want to point out one of the armies that I really, really think, and I'm going to go back to, going in an order. of course, Imperial Agents was the best army ever. Brad's arch rival technology, 100%. But one of the armies that I think is just crazy, and it hasn't been super high in the win percentage. Lyle, tell me about Imperial Guard, man.
Imperial Guard's not fair. If you're not playing Imperial Guard, you're missing a lot of free wins because it's kind of stupid.
Which variant are you looking at, Lyle?
I'm currently playing 200 Guardsmen, and I don't feel like I'm playing the same game as my opponent.
I agree with that. I've played against a list like that, and it is wild.
At no point this weekend did my opponent ever kill more than half of my army, and like I didn't really have to roll dice to attack people after the third turn. It just didn't matter. Like I just moved around, scored all my points, and it didn't matter what else happened.
Interactive, baby. That's just a lot of
It's
stuff.
It is the way Brad has taught me to play 40K.
And I'm so
Just
proud of
pretend
you.
the other person's not there.
Yeah. Don't let them party and be part of your game. That's just crazy talk. They're there to listen to your stories while you talk and have a couple of
Guard
drinks.
has been sneaky good for a while, and they've been getting better. And then they gave him the Aquilons, which thankfully the WCW FAQ is in existence. Otherwise,
let me be perfectly clear,
stupid,
though, Brian.
they're still good.
Let me be perfectly clear. The first time I played Aquilons, I didn't even know they could do any of that stuff because I assumed that they were a fair unit that just had a 3-inch deep strike. And so I just played them like the way they were supposed to be nerfed, or the way they ended up getting nerfed. No deep strike and no grenade thing. And they still felt broken. It doesn't matter.
Oh no, they're still stupidly good.
I would pay
You can
20 points more per unit for that unit easily and still auto take them, not even question it.
Absolutely. And the Scions are also completely crazy.
Yeah. I had to explain to Kyle. Kyle asked me yesterday, because the reason I started playing Guard here recently is because I wanted to play Scions. Like I was texting Brad about like, how do I get 60 Scions in a list? Am I running the Tarox Primes and stuff? Just like I just want to build around Scions because I think they're crazy for their points. And I had to explain to Kyle for like, what is it, like 160 points or something, when you get all 15 guys, like the amount of just absurd rules you give their shooting all at the same time for their points. They just like they point and click at stuff. It just doesn't matter. Everything dies.
They also have
If you're
every
touching an
freaking
objective
gun.
and you're not a vehicle, then they kill you.
I will say that the reason you probably slowed down shooting stuff is because if you're on a clock, at some point you're going to be like, I really don't need to shoot this.
Yeah, well, I finished all of my games at no, like even my first game. You would expect, this was the first weekend I played it, and even playing 200 guys for the first 3 games ever, I finished all of my games.
Nice.
There's obviously room for improvement there, but like you said, like at a certain point, I'm just doing math in my head, was keeping track of my score. And I'm like, I don't need to shoot anything the rest of the game unless I draw a card that tells me I have to. Like my points don't involve killing people anymore. I've killed enough. Just run around the table and do stuff.
I've killed enough. I ain't like that anymore. You're doing the Unforgiven. You're really in money. So
You kill exactly as much as you need to win a game. That's the point.
I still think Guard has a couple difficult matchups, but
Like what? Name them.
I think World Eaters and Death Guard can be difficult matchups for him.
I think it depends on like, cause the thing with Guard, and I was explaining this to Kyle earlier. Guard is like notorious for like one of the 3 deepest codexes, right? Like it's Guard, Space Marines, and Eldar. Like those are the 3 deepest codexes in total. And so like even with me describing playing human spam, that's not the most common Guard list right now, and Guard's still crushing. Like you can they have access to so much stuff that's so cheap. You can build a mixed arms detachment very, very easily.
And there's so many of them. The WCC, we'll go into this a little bit later. The WCW has just Guard everywhere. It's by far the most taken faction.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting weekend. There were some choices in some of the lists that I was like, oh, that's interesting. Why is that there? And then I looked at the meta and went, oh yeah, Hydras are pretty good against a lot of the meta.
85-point holes, anti-fly 2. You know what I mean? It's like, they went down so far.
The amount of the things you need to kill a Hydra on the first turn are the things you want your Lehman Russes to be shooting on the second turn anyway. So drive forward with your Hydras and pass.
Yep.
Plus tank commanders.
It was really interesting. The tank commanders.
There's such a huge argument right now about if in the Guard community if tank commanders are even good or not. It's crazy.
Well,
Like
that's
it is.
how
It
deep
is
they are,
very vociferous. Two sides right now.
Well,
It's-
when you have something that's really good that people are arguing whether is worth taking, the codex is legit.
Yeah. Well, I think the basic question is it better to take a tank commander or just take 3 Lehman Russes with rerolls and don't care? Since the basic Lehman Russ gets full rerolls anyway most of the time, like you just kind of ignore the fact you need +1 to hit.
Necron's
that's
the
the
largest
argument
faction?
I'm seeing.
That is my fault on that one. I didn't realize that Necron's the largest
Yeah.
faction.
Necrons are largest. I think Guard's second.
I just know that in my pod, it's a bunch of Guard and Tau. So that's what's in my pod. I'm like, oof. What's up, guys? I'm going to get shot a lot. My orcs are going to be set on fire several of the times. Uh-oh, Matto coming with the super chat. $10 super chat. Thank you so much, sir. If only there was some sort of way to make players organize their forces in a way that would cut down on weird skew in a list building. This will never happen again. Go Orange! Yeah, man. 4-star charts. Hey, remember when we didn't get super crazy lists as much? You know, because we had to follow the 4-star charts. For those of you who don't know what a 4-star chart was, you used to you took 2 HQs, 3 elites, 3 heavies, 3 fast attacks, and up to 6 troops. And if you wanted something else, go F yourself, because that's what it was. You could break that a little bit in certain armies, but for the most part, we also had a lot more squadrons back then.
I don't know what everyone else is doing, but like I haven't seen anything that feels spammy right now after the Black Templar list from this past summer. Like even the Guard list that I'm talking about, which like I only know one other person that's playing it. But it doesn't take more than like 3 of any data sheet. Like even Battle Line is not spamming
but it's got,
anything it can.
If you're talking about Battlefield roles, though, it's taking like 12 elites. I mean, you could never have that before.
I mean, I don't know what Accolons are. It's got Kazarkins, and
they would definitely be fast attacks.
They'd be fast attacks, yeah.
So you got 3
Kazarkins
Accolons, Scions are Battle Line, Canadians are Battle Line, Kriegsmen are Battle Line, Katachan are Battle Line, and then it's got 3 Kazarkin. So it's got 3 elite, 3 fast attack, and 12 Battle Line. That's an old detachment. That's a real thing.
Yeah, not quite, because you wouldn't have Cadians and Catachans and Kriegs all in the same army.
You wouldn't be able to take those at all.
What do you want to do about that? Yeah, I mean, I can't say let's go play 8th edition rules. I mean, there's not a lot about that.
I personally like the army. It feels very, very fluffy to guard of, hey, guess what? There's 3 bajillion dude bros running across the battlefield at you, and some are popping in with parachutes and grav shoots. It's fantastic.
It's legit though, man. The thing is going well. I do think that Death Guard, if you talk about the matchups on that, I think that Death Guard is a million times better versus them than the World Leaders are, because the World Leaders, you can just make a line of guys, give them the finger, and tell them just to stand over there as they're just busy killing 2 units a turn. And the Guard guy's like, I'll eventually just shoot you to death while you're murdering this army of Steves. And they're just standing there.
The inability to fall back for some of those units from the difficulty of falling back, I shouldn't say inability to fall back, against some of the World Eaters also helps. The stuff that prevents fallback does.
Yeah, but the problem with the Exalted is like if you get touched by an Exalted, you die, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like the Guard spam doesn't matter. Like maybe the tanks care more.
Although the tanks for sure.
There's the one ability that can do still lock tanks, because not everyone can. Some of them are non-tank, non-monster. I don't remember. But like the Guardsman list, like you can't. If the Guardsman player is not stupid, then they just always make sure everything's 4.1.
I was going to say 4.1
like
spacing is what it matters on that. It's a big deal. Now it's just that's another army. I like that army quite a bit, even though I think it's crazy to play against, because it does take skill. If you just derp that army up, you can just consolidate into it and grab people that shouldn't be grabbed and stuff like that. So your spacing does mean a lot, and you can just rush that army if you get. Obviously, you have to go first, though. You know what I mean? So that's a big deal on that.
I want to be clear. We're also probably spending a disproportionate amount of time talking about this Guard list when, like, I know 2 people playing it, and most people don't on the models, won't buy them, won't paint them. So like, it doesn't really matter.
Well, it's also, are you going to paint up 240 models when you're getting a codex in a month and a half that might completely deep 6 this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I'm more. It's the nice thing about the guardsman list, this list specifically. If you are going to build it, like you just kind of then own the entire guard line. Like
Yeah,
you
pretty
don't.
much.
You have all the models then, so
And
it's not,
also-
you're not wasting your time.
Zoom's made a good point on this. I mean, Metgard won this weekend and Lehman Russ spam to Coventry. That's legit also. The combined arms is pretty sick. I mean, Lennon's playing a very delightfully nasty combined arms list with he basically has triple every vehicle that's cheap, you know what I mean, and throws down. So
triple Hellhound, triple Lehman Russ, triple
Hydra.
Hydra,
Yep.
and I think like 2 Chimeras or something.
Yeah, two Chimeras and like some squads on it. It's just a lot of shit that you can throw on. Anytime you have a lot of trash in your list and a lot of firepower, I'm in. Speaking of a lot of trash and things that worked, let's go back to the wall here. We had World Leaders, then we had Death Guard, and I think these are two very similar lists, but I think that they play so different. A lot of people just kind of put them in as melee armies, but I think the Death Guard army has more things going on that it can play around. What are your thoughts about this, Kyle? You're a Death Guard mojo.
Yeah, I've been waiting for my time to talk. All right, I went back and looked at all of the Death Guard like finishers this week, and they're all basically one thing in common: is there's 12 Death Shroud amongst all of them. So you know that's where you're starting, and you're just putting the stat check on people. Can you get through this brick of almost unkillable idiots? Okay, if you can, then there's still like, Predator Destructors and whatever else behind just killing you. I think that they're in a good spot for singles. I don't know if they're going to continue to be as good as they're like performing right now, especially if more tanks start being the meta, because anything with damage 3, like you're a 50-50 on just dying, right? Once you start losing the Death Shroud, they're not effective. But I think I think it's
the librarian only works in the melee phase. Is that right?
Yeah. And then, you can stack it, but go ahead.
No, I just want to say, because why would you kill Death Shroud? They move 4 OC1 idiots out. That is the way to stop them. They are, however, equipped with 7 flamers. So if you're just some random bum, it does suck when you're like, we're going to steal the objective from these guys. And you're like, I'm on fire. And apparently it's also dog poop that they shot at me that's on fire. It's gross and I'm on fire. Why? Also, ew.
I've seen some play with only Terminators with people bringing Blight Lords and Death Shroud.
That's not the way. The problem is that anytime you go very super skew, for me, that's my opinion on this. Anytime you go too skew on anything, you're going to get those matches where you can't play the game or you can't deal with certain things. If you can just get people just putting hordes of bullshit on top of your objectives, they're still going to outscore you. So, but I like where this army is, to be honest with you. I like it a lot. And it's slowly popping up. It's gone up every week for the last 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, it's good. Anna is asking a question about how you start building it. The Death Guard list, and then they included Rodigus. And
can someone explain to me why Rodigus is showing up in all these lists? Because I don't get it.
I don't like it either. I think you just bring more shit.
Yeah.
Also, Plague Marines are so criminally underrated still. I don't get it.
Kyle, I know you've had conversations with other high-level Death Guard players lately. Have you heard any input on why people think Rodigus is good?
Because you can deep strike them onto an objective that someone wasn't covering, and then slow down a side of the board with his aura. But I don't know. It's just not worth it. It doesn't, it just doesn't make sense to me why you're investing so many points into something that doesn't benefit from the army rules, that is just distraction. You're already kind of running distraction anyway. The points investment doesn't make a lot of sense.
Also, the contagion is legit, man. You know what I mean? Making someone -1 to hit, -1 BS, -1 weapon skill. Also, you can stack it with the Nurglings, of course, is just disgusting. And if you're playing something different, you can take your save is shittier because your armor's rusted and busted. See, rhyming it up. So, I think this army's legit, man. You know what popped up again? We had a Chaos Knights winning a bunch of stuff, and then we had Imperial Knights just popping their heads over 50% again, man. With a lot of games played. This has been the thing that's surprised me, is Imperial Knights have just consistently been a very, very played faction, no matter what.
So this is going to sound like a weird tangent. We just had an election. And one of the things that I'm always interested in reading online after any given election is reading political scientists talk about, okay, people voted. Now, what do their votes mean? What does this data mean? Like, we have all this data. We have data on who and what parts of the country voted which ways. That tells us about what they're thinking or what's going on here. So analyzing the data, is way more interesting to me than actually seeing the results of the votes. I feel like we have the same thing going on here with Meta Monday. We have data from this weekend. The data is data. Data can't lie. That tells us which armies did very well. But I think the data, if we dig into it, is probably an indication of what everyone else is playing and trying to beat versus what armies are suddenly good because the rules or points changed. Because all 4 of the armies that seem to have done really, really well this weekend kind of crush other vehicle armies. Like, if I knew my opponent was going to bring like 7 or more vehicles, I would probably pick one of those 4 armies.
We had 2 knights do well.
I think part of it is you have to start looking at, when you deep dive into the data, you have to look at what were the matchups for those armies versus what they were playing, what army versus army came into. There are times, and you 100% indicated that, where if they get their favorable matchups, lots of vehicles, low model count, elite armies, and stuff like that, you can put a number on them and do very, very well in an event with what's considered to be a subpar list. That's part of the statistics of things, is there's an anomaly sometimes with pairings.
Right. I'm going to go immediately to the wall. I'm seeing multiple people put this out in chat, where I'm not trying to say we explain why any given list did well or why any one specific person won an event. Because when we're talking about the metadata, we're talking about all of it compiled together. So we're not trying to break down events or individual. But I think if we look at what are the people around the world doing in totality, that paints a picture of what people are trying to beat, what people are expecting, what people are seeing people bring to tournaments consistently. So yes, we can explain any given event based on the number of people or the matchups that person had or what the terrain was like or whatever. But we can still use the data across the world to paint a picture, which I think is the thing that this week stands out a lot to me.
You know what picture I'm going to paint?
Sad clown.
Doesn't matter what. Yeah, exactly. Sad clown. Apparently, no matter what you do to sisters, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, pretty much. They're a perfectly fine army, super balanced, lots of data sheets, and very good rules. And Miracle Dice are busted.
Why sisters are part of this trend, but why are so many people including or starting to move towards vehicles? What's dictating the move besides people understanding the card is good?
Kyle and I had this conversation earlier, and I don't know the answer. I was asking Kyle, and I don't think he knew either. But are people all switching to all these vehicles because for some reason with points and rules, vehicles are good? Or is it kind of an arms race that everyone else started playing a bunch of vehicles, so now I have to play vehicles to kill other people's vehicles? Because it feels to me like that one.
Well, it's a little bit of all of them, actually.
It's a little bit
because what happens is we've got such a wild, versatile meta right now that you go, if I play this, what's the best? If I play this, what's the best? And you have you can win with a lot of different things right now. And you have to be ready for 1 billion guardsmen, 1 million small vehicles, a bunch of big shit, you know what I mean? And then you have to ask yourself, what's the best at facing all of these, and usually you can just go, well, if I play a bunch of castigators, that takes care of most of those check marks. So you end up just going, is this the best of everything? Maybe, but it's the best, it's the safest choice a lot of times when you're putting your stuff down, because if they only have small arms fire, they're not able to take care of your vehicles. So, and you have to put out enough damage to take care of both. And there's a lot of just straight vehicles that can do that. So I think that's why.
Do you think it's because the vehicles are so aggressively priced? Like, you're getting so much more durability in weapons platforms on something that is the same equivalent price as like 5 guys most of the time.
Well, yeah, that's the biggest
situationally. Situationally, which is better, which gives you more play in a wide open meta.
Well, there's 100%, because you got to think that you're looking at, a squad of assault marines or something. I could just take a tank, you know what I mean, in place of that. You look at the Hydra and shit like that. Look at, excuse me, you've had a ton of these small vehicles, even the Lehman Russes when they went down. So, you've got a lot of things where you just have a shit ton of firepower. The Castigator, you know what I mean? That's literally just
like, why do you take a unit? Why do you take a Predator as opposed to taking 5 Havocs? Well, the Predator's harder to kill.
Yep.
Right. 5 Havocs can die to a stiff breeze. The Predator doesn't really die to a stiff breeze. You need some dedicated firepower
Right.
to take it out.
But you know when
they're
a
in the
you know when
same
a predator
points cost.
does die to a stiff breeze is when everyone else has 9 predators also.
True.
But then it's who gets their predators out first.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's
And then
why
it
I'm
comes
saying
down
like
to
this feels very
picking and
arms
choosing.
racy to me. That other people had
I-
success with 3 vehicles, so now I need to take 5.
You know what you could do? Take only orc infantry. Rock it up, baby.
That's one of the reasons that certain SKU lists that have versatility are doing well. I'm looking at things where like what I'm going to call the flexible armies right now. I think Space Marines have some flexibility that hasn't quite been tapped into because they have decent tanks and decent infantry. Tyranids, same thing. Orcs, same thing. I guard
GSC,
100%.
do GSC right now. When they had all those
in GSC,
they got all those point reductions, all of a sudden Biosantic became a real thing again. You know what I mean? Because you got 300 points of extra shit in your army. You know what I mean? So we've had a lot. I mean, I actually think that it's wild. They buffed up GSC, and we saw them just really skyrocket, and we saw multiple of their detachments skyrocket, which I actually thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that the meta is there's going to be arms race like you're talking about, Kyle and Lyle. Like with you, people think that that's the best platform. In what might surprise everybody is when something like what Brad's doing, which is a billion units of trash, pops up, and it can fight vehicles off and it can fend off a bunch of stuff, but can outscore you. And that's going to be the thing that I find interesting. We're going to see where this meta shakes out, and we'll start talking about WCW in a little bit, and go into what we think are going to be the factions that pull it out, or let's be risky and actually pick players.
It's wild because, I mean, some of the things are pretty crazy when you're making a list right now, because they are things like Chaos Knights, which had the back-to-back bad weekends and then all of a sudden had a great weekend. But like, if you just tool up, like if you're at the RTT and you just played Lyle's a billion infantry army and you tool your army up to kill those stupid infantry, and then you only play Chaos Knights afterwards, you're going to be real bummed. You're like, God damn it. Like, you brought what, 15 armigers? God.
And I'm just going to keep saying this. Tyranids are still in that 50% win rate. That is, I have a feeling, going to be the sleeper army for a little while.
Tyranids are just fleshy tanks.
Let's see.
Yeah. But with being
double
fleshy,
checking. So
with being
what do
fleshy
we
tanks,
have? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 2 armies that are below 45% win rates.
Yeah.
It's orcs and all the different Space Marines. Like everything is still playable right now. Everything is viable.
Everything is viable, which is great. That's what we want the meta to be. Is we want there to be some flux, some surprise.
I'm sorry.
We don't
and
want
Votan. No, Votan's at 51. I'm sorry. I apologize, Brian.
Yeah, Votan's doing well. I just think that you're going to see some surprises. And although, yes, Tyranids are fleshy tanks, there's a whole lot of stuff that has anti-vehicle. There's not a lot of stuff with anti-monster.
Maddo.
Usually they have them both.
I always have to fucking get to this quote anytime it's said. And we all know Space Marine players just need to get good.
All right. And sorry, to be clear, I'm looking at the 4-week win rates, not the weekend win rates.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, what kind of an idiot would take something that's been winning at such a low win rate for a long time into the World Championships?
Probably the guy who said that everyone else was wrong and not getting the results that he was getting.
What? I've been wrong. I'll be wrong again.
You are literally putting your money where your mouth is. So I can't be mad at you.
So why don't we flip over and start talking about WCW? Because I think that's what everyone's looking forward to.
Let me give you this. I have to give it to the boys over at Goonhammer. This is a really good article, and they did some really good deep dives.
Written by Jeremy Atkinson from StatCheck.
Brad, if you were not picked as one of the favorites in this article, would you be offering it up right now?
Yeah. I'd bitch a lot. but I would still offer it up.
That's fair.
I mean, I know who I am. Like, how did you not pick me? I'm the bestie. I'm the tallest. I'm the youngest. I have the best hair. So let's talk about this. So let's first off talk about the fact that we have, they put us in pods. So we have 16 groups of 16 to 18 players. There's 274 people registered. I thought it was 276 actually, but whatever. And this is a big thing on this, that they tried to pair the pods based on countries. They want people from different countries in every single pod. So they had a big mix. After that, I have absolutely no how they did it, because we have a group stage where you have to get out of your group. You have to get out of your pod. So you play 4 games in your pod. If you win your pod, you go into the top 16 pod. It's just like all GW events. They bracket after 4 games, and then we play 4 more games. And effectively, if you don't win your pod, the best you can do is 17. So you need to get out of your pod first. And that is the group stage.
Yep.
And we've got some locals. We've got some faves here. We've got, they go through the pods and they're talking about it. I'm in pod 3. It looks like I'm the favorite in the pod. Just over Jack. Makes me happy. My pod's pretty rough, man. There's some really...
Your pod's nasty.
Oh, my pod's disgusting. Like, I'm favored, but I think by like 1% or like 2 other people. It also brutal list. We've got 4 IG, 3 Tau.
This is a good question from KR. Did Jeremy factor in your percent of death in the middle of a game?
No, this is just me.
If he uses your health as a numerical value, you're definitely not.
I'd be in a negative. Well, yeah. This is just to get out of the pod. So I'm usually good for a little bit, but for 4 days, I'll play my last game while I'm in the ER. Like, what's up? Everybody's got a table, but mine says bed 7. Yeah, you have to play Brad. So, but there's some gross pods. Folger's in a really nasty pod. Pod 1's a pretty gross pod. There's some some big stick hidden pods, hardcore. So there's a big difference in the combined ELO of some of these pods. And I don't know if they did them as random or they put them in together. I really don't know how they match the pod, because I don't think you can just click random when you're trying to separate different countries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there had to be some thought put into it, but I'm going to go with mostly they probably broke it down by country and then said, okay, this many countries from, this many United States in this pod, and then random that would be my guess.
Uh-oh. KR, as usual, coming in like clockwork, knowing that we're idiots. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. It always helps out with the YouTube gods. I have no idea how the algorithm works because it's witchcraft. You can't tell me it's anything but witchcraft. Yeah.
So I do like that, that they broke this down number by number. Very interesting. The way that they ran multiple simulations of everything was really interesting.
So they put it down, and they basically mostly broke it down by yellow. And I'm going to break it down by country, then we'll go down by the armies, because Germany is apparently sending their A team. With the German players have a combined ELO of 1835 with their 7 players. That is hefty. That isn't just first. It's a lot in first. You know what I mean? It is, like, wow. Who's coming? They're throwing down. England always throws down the beat sticks when they show up overseas. United States, we have the third most, but we also have the most players because it's held here with us. Czech coming in. Spain's got such an underrated, with the fact that a lot of their guys don't travel that much. Spain itself has like so many huge events. They have a crazy 40K community. Really, really nasty. And the Aussies are showing up. Also, all the Aussie bros, I have to give you props because holy shit, it takes forever to get here. I mean, that's a commitment, dude. You're basically like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? You're like, for the entire day I will be on a plane. Like all of it.
At least Atlanta's a big hub, so it's easy to get in and out of.
Yeah, Atlanta's it was nice to go into Atlanta. Man, anytime you're running a big tournament like that, run it somewhere where we can get a plane to it, not or flips. We're talking to you, ATC. Move to Atlanta. Stop going somewhere where I can't get a plane to. No, Manny.
All right, so then
let's go back down here.
Yeah, so go into faction performance.
Faction performance. I was surprised that there was more Necrons than anybody else. I'm gonna give my whole oxymoron on this. I was and I wasn't at the same time, because I thought they were a safe pick. They've done really, really well as far as being in the mix. I thought more people would try to skew it up so they could get up. But the thing is that if you're not sure what you're going to face, Necrons are a great army to play into. Yes, just whatever the hell, you know what I mean? It's just such a good army to play into. I don't know what I'm going to play. And this is another thing, everyone. We don't have a player packet yet. Effectively, apparently, when you get there, they're eventually going to get a player pack. So I don't know what the missions are, what the terrain is, nothing. I don't know what days you're playing anything on. So if you don't know that, Necrons, especially Hypercrypt, are a fantastic army for that. Awaken's underrated, yes, but if I'm talking about what I'm going to take, if I don't know what the hell I'm going to face, I'm probably taking Hypercrypt, because I know I can do uppy downy shit and I can score points.
And then the next most represented faction. Now, Necrons are about 11% of the field. And a little over 9% of the field is Astra Militarum, followed by Blood Angels, then Tau, then Adeptus Sororitas, and then Tyranids. Out the top 6.
So it is just a lot of Astra Militarum. Scares me.
As it should.
It's a terrifying army on that, man. You know what I was surprised at? Even though I've said that for a while, I think that they're underrated. Tau. There's a shit ton of Tau. They're 4th in number of players playing.
Do they have it broken down by detachment anywhere?
I don't know on that. I'm sure somebody on Reddit does, but they don't have it here.
Yeah, they don't have it here.
Like Harpster's playing Retcad. A bunch of people are playing Kayan. But there's a decent amount of them. I think the most I saw I've really been focusing on my pod, so that's been my main focus, because you have to get out of your pod before you can do anything else. So I've been really focused on that. So like in my pod, for instance, I've got 2 Kayans and 1 Red Cat. Probably can come in with a $2 super chat. Hey Brad, can I get a go blue? Of course you can. I'm still angry that I went to an event and they were like, "Why are you wearing your Ohio State hat? I thought you were a Michigan fan." I was still pissy about that.
So what factions? So we'll do a little prognosticating now. What factions do you guys think are the favorite to win? Just give me your top 2. Brad, give me your top 2.
Hold on. I got to go way over here because you're like, hey, what's the least brought? I got to click over 2 more screens. Orcs. 6 of us. The only one.
So Brad, if you don't win best in faction, fuck you.
Look, I'm like Ricky Bobby here. You're either first or you're last, damn it. I'm either winning this event or I'm going to go sit around and...
Brad's either winning the whole event or playing Jack in the first round, losing, and then dropping.
You're like, what happened to Brad? I think he's over there somewhere.
Yeah, Brad decided to go dress up as a commissar in the narrative event. Did they invite him? No, but that didn't stop him.
Oh, that sounds so much fun, by the way. Now I kind of hope that what I hope I don't do is go 6-0 and then lose and just be sad. Oh man, look at the victory over there. Not where I am, but over there somewhere. It's harder to pick because I don't know what the missions are. You know what I mean? If I knew missions and terrain, I could make a more accurate assessment of who I think's going to win. I think that it's hard to bet that one of the guard players doesn't make it far. So I think that's a big deal on that. You've also got You got Lennon brought guard, great player. I think that's a big deal. Sisters showed up in force with 15, and they're kind of scattered all over the place too. I would say that if you're talking like about top 4, I would say guard and sisters are in that top 4, in my
I
opinion.
mean, guard and sisters are my top 2. I
Yeah.
don't think that's very hard of a choice.
Okay, so what for you, Kyle?
I'm gonna stick with guard and GSC.
And I'm gonna stick with guard and Tyranids.
I know you didn't you say Sam Pope was your actual pick?
If we're gonna go with who we're looking to pick to win it all, I'm looking at this year's results, the abilities of players, and then I looked at pods and everything else, and my pick was Sam Pope with Tyranids. I'm not playing faction homer because I do really like Tyranids. I'm a huge Tyranid player, but he's won a lot of very large events this year and has represented Tyranids all year long and is just specialized with them. And I think because he doesn't jump faction, he does jump from detachment to detachment, but I think he's just got the mojo this year.
His
Is it
list
the guy?
really nice.
Yeah, the guy who they picked to win his pod over him is like unanimously agreed to be the best Votan player in the world.
Yeah, well, they've actually put him in. He's Sam and what's his face, Tim Schneider.
Yeah, and I'm reading. They have a little paragraph explaining why they picked him over.
I mean,
Sam and that.
it's a coin flip too between the two, and even in the ratings.
But like, my point is specifically countering Sam being a faction expert. Germany is the only country that thinks Votan is the best army in the game, and that's supposed to be the best player they have in that country.
Yep.
It's like he's as equally a faction expert as Sam. I'm sure that would be a great matchup, if we got to see the two of them play.
I want to see the two of them play. I really think Sam has just got a little bit of a leg up. And look, nothing against Tim. I think Tim's a phenomenal player. I've seen some of his stream stuff. I have Sam on my card this year.
You just want Tyranids to win.
Well, I'm going to give some shout outs here.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong.
I got to give some shout outs to some of our boys. We got Folger coming in with some custodes, which he basically he threw Eldar in the back and walked away from it like an 80s action movie star from an explosion. We got Brian. Does Brian rock anything except for World Eaters?
No.
He's like a specialist on those. You got my boy Austin Wingfield going, you know what? I'm running the all pain train Space Wolves. I'm going to give shout out to Brian Jones, who just plays Imperial Knights, and he always seems to do so well, even when Knights are shitty. So, rocking it out. You got Spatho from out in San Diego running GSC. I mean, this is the tournament. I'm starting to think that it's fairly legit.
You think, Brad?
This is definitely better than like a local RTT.
Absolutely.
So, but there's some legit people showing up with some big armies on this. I was surprised that there was as many Thousand Sons as there were. It's a really good army, but you have to be just such an expert pilot, to get it done. And this is going to be the scary thing is Thousand Sons piloted by 10 of the best Thousand Sons players in the world. Terrifying.
Absolutely.
So,
and watching their predictions for best in faction is very interesting to me.
Yeah, on this. So let's go all the way to the end because I want to see my name again. Ha Brad Chester. Looking to rock those orcs out, baby. We do have 2 Imperial agents, but I don't think I've looked at their list. They're like Imperial agents in name only. They run a bunch of big shit besides that. Sherman's rocking the Templars. That's a scary army with him backing it. Siegs is rocking some AdMech, so we'll see on that. Siegs has been all over the place on his AdMech too, as far as what he's going to bring. And then, of course, Ridvan's bringing his Drakari, because he's the kung fu master of Drakari. Siegs with AdMech is scary. He's a really good player with that. He sets up lines and stuff. It's going to be tough on that because, like, whether or not we have lots of, if we're playing GW2 on certain terrains and stuff like that, or we're playing, if we're playing board 5, Brad and his orcs are going to be sad clown faced. I'll have the same background as Lyle has.
Yeah, but if you get a table set, but if you get a setup 7, you're going to be super happy.
Oh yeah, give me if I can get table 7 all day long. Yes, please. It's all of the goodness, all of the times.
So you don't have the player packet, but do you know kind of what the tables are going to be? Is it going to be all GW?
They're going to use all 8 of their tables.
But it'll only be GW.
Yeah,
they're not going to use all 8
GW events over the course of the event.
No, they're not doing that. They're going to do a one per.
That's
per
what
day.
they did at their GW Opens. Why wouldn't they do it this way?
They don't do it at the GW Opens. They do
They
not
did.
do that.
They did this time.
They did the last. I'm saying before they have not. They use one. They literally put up one.
This year, now that they have 8, like for Seattle, they had all 8.
Ugh. I'm not gonna lie. If I play
It
some
wouldn't
shooting,
surprise me if in round 1 you play on table 1. If on round 2 you play table 2, so on and so forth.
yeah, that
How many people who are coming overseas are going to be like, oh no, when they see the tables?
probably.
I mean, the GW terrain at World's Championship last year was very similar to what they've had at the Opens, that the walls were either the old ones that went all the way around the template, or basically they were just like a quarter of a wall they put on the template and the template did all the blocking. Since this event is smaller than their GW Opens, then they might have better terrain because they don't need as many, but it's not WTC terrain. Like it's small. The footprint does most of the heavy lifting, not the wall itself.
Going to the wall, Hunter says, plot twist, it's player placed.
Nah, GW hates player placed a lot.
If I flew all the way to Atlanta for it to be player placed, I would Starscream, flip into a jet, and fly the fuck home.
That might be the best thing said today. What happened? A dude just turned into Starscream, but blew a hole through the ceiling and flew away as a
feel like-
jet.
You
hold on,
flew
Kyle's
home.
just ripping off the Saturday Night Live skit. That's not even original enough. Do better.
I don't watch that. What are you talking about?
There's who's the stoner guy? The one that's in Pineapple Express, Seth Rogen. He had a song with Andy Samberg where he's like talking about all the things he does at work because they want to fire him. And over the course of the song, he like sucks his own dick, chops it off.
Oh, that was Andy Samberg.
And Seth Rogen. It's the two of them together.
Yeah, he's giving him
Holy shit.
that's like a boss.
Yeah, like a boss.
Horn,
Yeah, but
you
he literally
sad
turns into
clown.
a jet and dies.
And he flies into the sun. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
You turn into a
I'm
jet
turning
and
into
die.
Starscream.
That's your
Know
daily.
your
That's
role.
your daily operations. Yeah.
Know your role. So let's talk about their event favorite predictions. And they're doing these most basically straight up on ELO. So Tim's rocking a 2008 ELO right now, which is bananas. Justin Moore, 2011. So they have the expected win percentage. And I think they did this by what you have to do to get out of your pot also. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's everybody, Tim, Justin, Sam, Folger, Manuel, John, myself, Derek, Kit Smith, and Andy. All somewhere between 6 and 2%. It's hard to make an expected win on this one. There's so many good players. And it's going to be wildly matchup specific on this. And not just the matchups, it's the matchups on the days that we play certain boards and certain missions. And the thing is they, as much as I hate it with a passion of 1,000 suns, they did this on purpose. They actually said that they're not giving a player pack because they didn't want us figuring it out before we get here. And I forget what the exact comment was. They said basically, we didn't want you to figure out how to win before you're here. Which
They say that in
All
the
right.
Pariah Nexus the commentary. They said they encourage TOs to not announce missions so that people can design lists in a way that will accomplish those missions intentionally.
I as a tournament organizer primarily these days, I agree with that completely. I
Boo.
honestly would rather not. I would rather have the player packet go, we're using GW terrain layouts and missions. What are they? I'm not going to tell you until that morning.
I want to plan so much where my armies are. I want to know exactly where I'm deploying. I want to know.
And that's why they encourage you not to do that, is because it gives players of your caliber a little bit more of an advantage.
I need an advantage. I might pass out at any time.
Would
Sometimes
you
I don't
even
know
be
where
good at 40K if you couldn't pre-plan?
I don't
if you had to
know.
wing it,
Brett,
Anymore?
don't act like you haven't been on TTS this past week just planning out all 26 missions. All right.
I mean, I have. I didn't even know some of them existed. That's what I'm worried about. I was like, oh no, that actually exists as a mission. I don't know how the mechanics work at all.
I just everybody make sure you bring some poker chips with you, because I guarantee it, you're gonna have to punt an objective at some point.
I hate that one.
I wanted to be on round 1. Let's weed the chaff right away.
I mean, the good
Let's
thing
go.
is I play orcs, so I can just derp forward occasionally if I don't know what else to do. Just hide behind walls, push everybody up. There you go. Mega strats. I do have a lot of OC in my army, so I'm pretty excited about that. Nothing makes me happier than stealing objectives away with OC2 Gretchen. You're like, hey, I noticed you're standing there with Star Killer Death Machine 5000. You're like, yeah, but is he OC2 per model? And these are on 25 mils, so I'm just gonna beep 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 steal this away. Is that
how can you
OC2
even
is
compete?
weak, Brad. You
Yeah,
need to
they
do better.
OC60 is a real thing for
Yeah.
guard.
OC, I can get to a OC like 104 if I wanted to. It's pretty funny.
I'm gonna have Dirty Zod and the boys just run up and start Chuck Norris kicking so many guardsmen. Wah! Nothing makes me happier than when Zod kills a tank. You're like, did a Gretchen guy just beat up my tank? Yep. What was you if he's in the WOG, bro? It's even worse.
All right, so let's outside of Brad, because Brad's gonna pick himself to win as he should. Kyle and Lyle, who's your pick? Who's your pick as a player? Looking at the field, looking at armies now that we've.
I want to
kinda
be
know
very
what they
clear.
are.
I haven't analyzed all the pods in a way to know like who's in whose pod and who do they have to beat to get out. Who's got the? I don't know any of that information. So
Okay.
I can pick names, but
By all, I mean, I broke down all the pods.
No,
So
you know what?
I kind of looked
No.
through that.
no. I know exactly who I'm picking. I'm going with my boy, Captain Nemo. He's showing up. He's
Captain
bringing
Nemo.
200.
The
He's
fish?
bringing 200 guys.
Yes.
Yep.
He's bringing 200 guys, and I don't think there are very many lists there that can kill it, or are as prepared for him to play his, or are as prepared for missions as he is with that list.
I really, really hope that someone you've never heard of ever kills the shit out of that list so I don't have to
Ooh.
play it.
I think a lot of people who have looked at his list are hoping that someone else beats him so they don't have to.
It's just going to be somebody's like, what'd you bring? 400 heavy bolters. Hey,
So Kyle, who's your pick?
If Brad can stay above board on all levels, I'm picking Brad.
Okay, fair.
I like that people. My team's like, look, man, if the dude doesn't die, we think we can do it. But
Brad,
also,
the last time we saw you, you died. It's like,
true.
What do you want?
I did get found face down in my living room. That's not a great sign. So,
If I had to make, I want Brad to win it more than anybody, but who I think is actually going to win it, I feel like probably Spatho is going to win with GSE because he's been putting time in.
Okay.
it's going to be tough to beat that Lenin Astra Militarum list, depending on the missions and the layouts, to be honest with you. He's also been playing a shit ton of 40K. So, I mean, it's hard to beat against Sam Pope right now, too. His list kind of takes on everything.
I think that list has the ability to handle the other top lists. That's my biggest reason for picking him. Although I think getting past Tim in his group is going to be momentously difficult. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy task for him.
There's some brutal
But
pods.
If he gets out of that pod, I think he can handle pretty much every army list.
They are trying to...
Honest question. How many Termagants does it take to kill 20 Kriegsmen?
It depends on what they're equipped with, but if you got them
True
with
story.
Spine Fist with Twin Links, if they have lethals as well, it's gonna get kind of nasty.
Yeah,
And you
I
can
know the
get
math
missiles
on
and
I
sustain.
know the math on just.
And
I don't know
sustain,
what.
yeah.
I don't know what Spine Fists do. I know the math on basic
They're-
attacks is it takes more than 180 bolter shots to kill 20 Kriegsmen.
So there's strength 3.
So it's worse. Okay.
Yeah, it's strength 3.
Well,
twin
lethal, it
linked,
probably averages out to about
2
the same.
shots,
Yeah.
lethal and sustained.
Lethal and sustain though. Yeah.
I know the math is it takes more than 180 Stormbolter shots to kill 20 Kriegsmen.
I've killed 20 Kriegsmen with the 2 guys with a 20-man unit. I think I killed 18 of them in a shooting phase.
Pew pew. Pew 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 pew.
Brad, if you're not picking yourself, who do you really think?
I said that. I think that it's going to be tough. Sam would probably be Sam or John probably would be my pick. Tim with League of Wotan's like a really good player with it, but like he will suffer on certain layouts and stuff. You know what I mean? And I mean, anytime you get a big tournament like this, especially when you get a big tournament that only has really seasoned good players, I mean, you have to have a golden ticket to just go to this thing. You know what I mean? You have to have some luck in what armies you face on what missions, what terrain. You know what I mean? That's just a fact. You have to play really well for the entire weekend, but you have to have a little bit of luck of the Emperor, man. He's gotta dodge it's not just your rolls and stuff. It's just dice or dice, but like matchup and mission is a big deal. You know what I mean? Like for instance, myself, I've got a bunch of IG and Tau and stuff like that. Facing the best Tau. Like if I'm playing Jack, I'd love to play him on Search and Destroy, you know what I mean? And I'd like to play him on Search and Destroy supply drop so I can just push my army forward and he doesn't get any points for taking us home. That would be optimal for me. If I have to do Hammer and Anvil and he just gets to sit and kind of just pick me off as we go, that's really tougher for me, you know what I mean? So that is a real thing of what you're playing on. It makes the matches significantly harder.
So if you had to pick a dark horse, who are you going with?
Folger's been crushing with custodes. And I keep thinking that there's answers to it. Like when I put it on the board and I think about what I would do against it, but he keeps smoking people. So maybe he just rolls into people. But some of these armies are just so good at just going, hey man, is it the turn to the phase after you popped a 4-up Feel No Pain? Boom, make a bunch of 4-ups or die. So it's a big deal in that, you know what I mean? So I'm just looking at, what's taken on this. I don't know. Let's see the full results here.
What dark horse do you have, Kyle?
I never know how to say his last name, but Derek. How do you say that last name?
Apes.
Yeah, that.
Good player.
Okay.
He's got a really interesting list.
So what about you, Lyle?
I think my dark horse is the person I'm picking. Like I'm not picking someone anyone knows about, so that's probably a dark horse, right?
He has done well in a few events. So, I mean, I don't know if it's a super dark horse.
Yeah, he's won like the last 3 things he's been to in a row.
Yeah. Like he's a good player.
Like max score. Like, hey man, did you just roll off like 16 100s in a row?
I am interested. I really want to see how Nemo does. I think he's got a lot of reps in. I don't understand the list. Lyle knows a little bit more, but it's crazy.
Yeah, I've got to talk to him a little bit. He's done some really
Let's-
good interviews about it, but
Let's go with my dark horse pick is Joshua Minnick.
no.
No, you're not giving Minnick.
You're not going to give
chance?
Minnick any chance whatsoever?
No.
Oh, come on.
He's got a
No.
pew pew
Minnick-
list.
Boys.
Minik knows what he did, and he's at a point where he needs to earn my love.
That's rough.
Well, Minnick, I'm giving you that dark horse hope chance there, bud. Good luck.
I'm gonna tell you that
I don't think this
it's-
counts as a dark horse, but if I'm picking someone who's not my favorite, I'm just going to pick Scott.
Ketchum's legit.
Ketchum's a good choice.
Legit, 100%.
I don't think he's anybody's dark horse. Like everyone knows who he is and how good he is, but
he's in a bracket
But
that
that's
he can come out of also
Yeah.
too.
He's in a good bracket. He's in a bracket that's potentially winnable for him.
To-
That's always a good
to
thing.
be fair, and I know I'm not trying to like spend a bunch of time on this. Nemo's bracket is super winnable.
Yeah.
Like I
he's-
think the best player that I know in his bracket that's not him is Walter Lagendorf.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like
Like
they
that's,
took
that bracket's kind of open.
I feel like when they started bracketing, they just took people that they already knew personally and put them in brackets, and then went, okay, let's sort everybody else out.
I am sure there are other people in here that are good, and I don't know who they are. But I recognize Cullen Burns. I recognize Walter Lagendorf. I think as a Tau player, I recognize Trainer Wolf's name. But that's, I mean, this bracket looks like it's pretty open.
Kid Smith has been smoking with Negrons too, by the way.
Yeah, there's and if you look at it on the world stage, there is a lot of really good players here, and this is the best of the United States, the absolute best who wanted to travel to the United States from the rest of the world. It's going to be a slog for anyone to get out of any bracket.
Done. $5 super chat, 1+ saves. $5 someone to pick me as dark horse. Stephen Ross in group 13. I think you're going to win it all, my friend. You're coming out of lucky number 13. Who's in your bracket?
Look, if I was there right now, if Stephen Ross wins it, the world will forever know that he is a superior Ross to Bob, and we'll start talking about happy little dark horses. All right.
Whoa, those are fighting words, bro. The Bob
Look,
Ross brackets.
He can earn the title of best Ross by winning this tournament. That's all I'm saying.
Is he even better than Rick Ross?
That he will be if he wins this tournament. How many world championships of 40K did Rick Ross or Bob Ross ever win? That's all I'm saying.
But he's the boss. Also, his dad's name is Bob Ross. You know what? We're ending on that. So everybody, appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. Like the Kalile. Orton, tell us all about the art store.
So, of course, the art store, cny.com, for all your Warhammer needs. Stop over today and take a look. We have a 15% off every day on Games Workshop model kits. And, of course, we also have a customer rewards program that's absolutely fantastic. So check it out today.
I'm going to throw out, of course, as always, the 40K Lorecast, or Lorecats as it might be. Stop in the Discord, check out the thing. We've got new merchandise. It's fantastic. It's all weird. I love it. And if you haven't signed up yet and you're going, Glass City GT here in Toledo, Ohio, first weekend in January, sign up. I'm not saying that certain people in this cast right now have not signed up yet, but Snigs is losing his mind as he says people haven't signed up. So please, come on. It's going to be a great time. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a lot of good players here too. It's going to be fantastic. And on that,
a good time.
Let's Queens wave our way out here, everyone.
I'm doing it. You can't see me.